Welcome to the City of Iowa City formal meeting on August 17th, 2021. It is 3 minutes after 6, and I'm going to start with roll call, please.
Burgess.
Here.
Mims.
Here.
Sully.
Here.
Taylor.
Here.
Teague.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Weiner.
Here.
All right, welcome everyone, and welcome to those in the public and those that are tuned in virtually. We are going to start with item number 2 through 6. Did I get a motion for our consent agenda?
So move.
Second. Mayor, could you move your mic up? You're not.
Yes, and I do see that I skipped an item, but we'll go ahead with who moved and who seconded?
Sully Taylor.
Saleh and Taylor.
All right, Sally and Taylor. All right. Would anyone from the public like to address anything that is not on the consent agenda? That is not in the formal agenda?
Wait, we've voted on the consent.
On the consent agenda?
Yes. Did I say that wrong?
Yeah.
That anyone, correct. This isn't public comment, just anything on the consent agenda. So I am sorry I misspoke. If you want to address anything on the consent agenda, you can take the mic now. Seeing no one, council discussion. Roll call, please.
Mims,
Yes.
Sully,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Weiner,
Yes.
Burgess.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. I am going to go back up to item number 1A. It's not on our on the website. And we're going to have a COVID update from our Johnson County Public Health. Sam Jarvis. Welcome.
Good evening to Iowa City Council. Sam Jarvis, Johnson County Public Health. And as always, thank you for having us. We'll provide a quick update and then open up for any questions that the council might have. So we are in a very similar boat compared to the last time where we updated with vaccinations. So really, vaccinations across the board have really stalled. We're still hovering around roughly 60%. You know, if you're watching the state's dashboard, they'll say 59.3% of our total population. And to put that in perspective, again, you know, we've got to see roughly about 1,500 vaccinations to move up 1 percentage point on the dashboard. So we've got to see a lot of vaccinations in arms to continue making progress. That's really, we begin to see measurable. And right now we're not seeing that. Our state is not seeing that, and the nation is not seeing that right now. We've largely vaccinated those who really wanted it, early adopters and things. And so right now, many of us are across public health and healthcare are just being as creative as possible in our promotion and getting information and education out there and really trying to combat as much misinformation as possible and really reaching those who also still have barriers to vaccination. So that's really been our primary focus the past couple months now since May, and we'll continue to do so throughout the fall. We know that we're getting more concerns in terms of vaccinations with due to the Delta variant that's predominating in the news still and things like that. So we'll continue to move our efforts towards that front. In terms of cases, many are aware that per the CDC's data tracker, we've moved into high-risk transmission at this point, which the CDC notes as that's over 100 new cases per 100,000 the past 7 days. And so we've moved into that, which I believe majority of the state is also in high-risk transmission. And per the CDC, roughly about 84% of counties in the U.S. are actually in that status as well, too. So we are seeing that upward trend as many of our other county partners across the state and the nation are seeing as well. But to put that in perspective of where we were at last year and framing it within the past month, about a week to 2 weeks ago, we started to see an upward trend of about 10 to 15 cases a day. So we went back into double digits. I know that we mentioned that previously. Now we're seeing about 25 to 30 a day. So we are steadily increasing. It's not been an exponential increase where we start to see 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 to 100 within a week or so, like we've done in the past with surges, but we are in a steady incline. So we have concerns. We know that predominantly they're unvaccinated persons. their households that are unvaccinated. And so to put it into perspective, anecdotally, at one point in time when we had COVID cases in households, if persons were able to successfully isolate from that family member or the household member, there was a chance that they would not get infected. Separate bedrooms, good hand hygiene and everything else, good airflow throughout their house, they might have been able to not get ill from that. Now we are seeing those persons become ill in households. Now, what is that due to this, Delta variant being more contagious? Probably to some degree. Is it also to some effect that maybe our vigilance with other mitigation measures isn't as high? That could be it as well. But we are seeing that. We are seeing it in households that are predominantly unvaccinated. Put it in perspective, the state, about 1 to 2 weeks ago, the state was seeing about 400 to 500 cases a day. Now they're looking at roughly about 700 a day. So they're also, we're also seeing that steady trend across the state. Two other quick points I do want to note before we open up to questions. Things that have just recently been announced by the CDC. One is that vaccinations are still strongly recommended for pregnant persons. They've got new evidence that there was not an increased risk for miscarriage, so we will want to promote that with our partners as much as possible to let everyone know, because that was one of the main concerns when we first launched our vaccine campaign. Those who were concerned with fertility, those who had concerns if they were pregnant. So we want to make sure that we continue to emphasize that. The other was that they're looking at a very specific subgroup of those who are immunocompromised that would, they're recommended to now have a third dose. It's a very small subset. And to put that in perspective, the CDC notes that it's roughly 3% of the U.S. population. And on their site, they run through kind of those who fit that criteria, such as actively having cancer treatment, organ transplant. They're on immunosuppressants, which would include high-dose steroids, and then untreated HIV infections. So it's a smaller subset of the population, to clarify. Others who may think that they're immunocompromised and are not in those categories, it's not recommended to have that third dose yet. So we do want to really emphasize that right now at this point. If people have questions, please feel free to call us, call their provider, call their pharmacist. This information has been recently released to all of us, and so it will be extremely important that we get this information out to the public as well so we can address those concerns head on. So those are the two main things that happened that were released just this past week. So as always, as the science and evidence is updated, we'll do our best to get that out, and we'll continue to follow that with fidelity as much as possible. So having said all of that, happy to answer any questions.
I have a twofold question for you, Sam. In the wake of the increasing case numbers and the new variants, what specific strategies are you now going to utilize to promote harm reduction and risk reduction in all of our county residents, whether they're 1 year old or 101 years old? And also, in light of that, second part, how will you work with the University of Iowa on these strategies, especially with the growing concern over the decision to have a full stadium for football this year?
Those are great questions, and I appreciate the first one with harm reduction. Really, again, we've got to really promote and emphasize that the best protection that anyone could have for themselves, or the loved ones, or those that they care about, or they're taking care of, is that layered approach. So first and foremost, we'll always be promoting vaccination. And then we recognize that certain people are not eligible to be vaccinated, right? Our younger population, those who still have some medical concerns and things like that. So we'll continue to promote that. The other portions will be the things that we've had to practice before the pandemic, or before vaccination. And so really talking to our event planners, talking to our community partners who are hosting either large events, our community partners, and looking at ways that we can do things physically distance. Those who can require masks, we're encouraging them to do so. We're certainly following and promoting the CDC's recommendations now that if you're in a community of substantial or high transmission, to consider universal masking indoors, which we're all doing, which greatly appreciated. And so that will be, and again, our strategy to approach that, to reduce risk as much as possible. We recognize that in certain circumstances and situations, not all of those are possible, but we'll do our best we can, and we'll promote that. To your second question, in the past week and a half, we've had several meetings and touch points with the university on capacity for testing, our protocols for contact tracing and disease investigations, which we'll continue to do, and certainly working with our partners across all of the touch points with the university, whether it's with their emergency management, the fraternity story life, the colleges and everything. So I know that we've got several staff assigned to different meetings, committees even, and everything. So we'll continue to coordinate with them as best as possible. We know that that's probably causing a lot of anxiety right now with the return of everything. So
Thank you.
I had questions about testing for symptomatic individuals. I know that there was a kind of a shift from having lots of available places, but now it's kind of going up. What can you say to the public about the availability of testing as well as contract tracing?
Yeah, absolutely. So with testing, I believe we've reached out to a lot of our local pharmacy partners. I believe a lot of them have scaled back their testing capacity in-house. They are selling the kits, either rapid or those that you can take home, perform, and then mail back to a lab. And so those are still available, but we recognize that some of those tests do have a cost to them. And so probably depending on how your insurance covers those, that might be prohibitive to some. But across the entire state, our state hygienic lab has stood up their capacity to do mailed kits. And so those who are able to order those, we're encouraging them to do so, to have those available. We are also a pickup site. There are others across our community and others that are pickup sites as well. We know that our hospital partners are also talking about their testing capacity to increase that and be able to scale that should the need continue on throughout this current kind of time frame that we're looking at with cases. So again, with testing capacity, I think everyone is aware, and we're scaling our operations across the board to be able to meet that. And if there's other gaps in that, please let us know, and we can communicate with our partners. In terms of contact tracing, as of July 1st, the State Health Department no longer requires county health departments to do those investigations and contact tracing. Ourselves, we know that other larger health departments are doing the same, but in Johnson County, we'll continue to do so. So as those tests are taken, those positive results get reported to the State Health Department and then to us. We'll continue to do our disease investigation process. So,
thank you.
So you mentioned the groups of people who cannot yet get vaccinated. That includes the elementary school kids who are about to go back to school. I have several sort of child questions that involve children. First, do you have any idea what percentage of the positives that we're getting now, what percentage of positive cases are in children? And can you tell us a little bit about children and COVID and what happens, when you have children in a family who can't get vaccinated and so forth, and what's likely to happen when they go back to school without any kind of mask mandate?
Sure. Let me try to recall all the questions and kind of walk through that. In terms of what those can do with younger children and unable to be vaccinated. Again, similar kind of mindset of before vaccinations, that layered approach in every setting that's possible. And we all recognize that some of those mitigation measures are not possible in schools. And so projecting forward, we're hoping that as the CDC has made evident that you can reduce the 6-foot physical distancing to 3 foot for operational purposes, that certainly we'll continue to recommend and strongly encourage everyone to don a mask, that we'll continue to see high compliance. I know that it's less than desire to not have to be able to require it, but we'll continue to promote that, and we hope, we know our school partners are in quite the bind with all of this. Projecting what will happen forward, it's unclear. We know that a good majority of our adult population is vaccinated. We know that the younger students are not. So it is a different scenario than what we were in last year. And I think there's also recognition that things are not as depopulated as they were before. So, again, we'll continue to promote and do the best that we can with the tools that we have in those situations. we will continue to do disease investigation and contact tracing with our school partners, and we'll certainly rely on their assistance and help to get those, what we refer to as line lists, but really that snapshot of where the student was at within the facilities, because we really need that eyes on and that kind of that internal knowledge, the institutional knowledge of where the students' whereabouts are to do very accurate contact tracing. So we'll continue to keep up those processes. That's another portion of that layered approach. We'll continue to promote, really they say it was referred to as the 3 C's: cover, clean, and contain. The contain portion of that is stay home when you're ill. That'll be another key component of that, because we know that covering your cough works only so well, but removing someone who's ill is really one of the better strategies. So, and I think there's another outstanding question that I'm missing. You can refresh my memory.
The one that I'd ask is, do you have any idea what percentage of current positives, more or less, are children? And I guess I'd add to that one final question regarding kids, which is, if we and the school district had the legal ability to put in place indoor mask mandates, is that something that public health at this point would recommend that we do?
To address the last question, if there was capacity to require masks, would we recommend that? Yes, we absolutely would. That's currently a CDC recommendation to require masks in school settings. Certainly now that we are in the transmission status that we are, universal masking, regardless of vaccination status, is recommended. So in terms of the percentage of children, we've seen our ages and our cases trend younger and younger. I believe the last 2 to 3 weeks, our average age is about 30, but the range is still pretty far. We are still seeing those who are in the 15-60 age range become ill. I would say in terms of percent, I don't have an exact percentage, but I think anecdotally our disease investigators have noted that they've seen an increase of cases in daycares. So again, if someone is ill, they're in a daycare, and if they're not removed, if they're ill, maybe it's slight symptoms that are missed. It is spreading in those settings where those are predominantly unvaccinated, because they can't be, unfortunately. So we're seeing more and more of those. In terms of percentage, I apologize, I can't give one off the top of my head. I don't want to mislead at all, but yes, we are seeing it in younger populations.
I just have a few questions for you, Sam. Thank you, as always, for being here. Relating to testing, you mentioned that you are a pickup site. Is that right? And is that for the Test Iowa saliva kits?
They are. That's for the PCR saliva kits that State Hygienic Lab provides. So.
Okay, so I just want to make sure people understood that this is not the having to shove a swab up your nose. It is a much easier, maybe more accessible saliva kit that I think you can sign up to coordinate that through testiowa.com. Is that right?
That is. And we're directing folks, if they're able to order those through the mail or online, to be shipped to them to do so. One, if you're ill or symptomatic, again, we'd still ask that you stay home, and we're trying to, if persons are interested and they're symptomatic, we're asking them to stay out in their car. We're having staff deliver that so they're not physically coming in the building. Again, we have those test kits as a pickup site to provide it for those who really do have some of the worst or most difficult access to care issues. So for those who can order it, please do so. We know the State Hygienic Lab is experiencing a high demand, as everyone could imagine, and certainly recognize that they're the best source for those. So.
Thank you. You mentioned that you're continuing doing investigations and contact tracing. Does that include with the schools and the school population?
It does.
Okay.
So we will continue to do so with the schools, daycares, and the rest of our community partners as well. So again, we couldn't do it as well without their support and help. So we really do, when they're in facilities, if little Johnny is in class somewhere, having that information of where their class is at and the students that were in there, getting that from the school is best. So.
Great. And the vaccines now that are under the emergency use authorization for people 12 and, well, I guess it's 12 and over and 16 and over, depending on the vaccine. Do you know when either of those will be approved rather than for just emergency use?
Not this time. That is the number one question, when they'll be fully approved or if that age range is going to expand. I know that many of us, I'm sure many parents and guardians are really hoping that that would happen in the summer before school started. But unfortunately, I believe the last kind of time frame that we received was roughly September. I know that recently I believe Moderna and Pfizer announced that they were expanding their enrollment in their research. And I believe many presume that would extend the timeline as well. So we hope it's soon, though.
And then here's a really random question, just to put you on the spot. You mentioned being creative and trying to think of incentives for individuals who are not yet vaccinated but who are eligible. Do you have any suggestions for us as a city government for things we might try for incentives?
Ooh, that is a good question. I think most recently we've looked at that because we've wanted to do things like lotteries. We've asked other partners of things, incentives, and it sounds like instead of a chance at winning something, the guarantee of obtaining, the benefit other than immunity was, a little bit more successful. We know that it sounded like other counties that did lotteries. However, they kind of put their methodology together that some persons that were drawn as winners didn't even know the lottery was going on. They were likely the folks that said, hey, I'm getting this because this is good for me and good for others. So, but if there are other organizations that are looking at that and they have the capacity to do so, if there's anything that we can do to support and kind of dive into that a little bit deeper, if they're reaching out to their constituents, stakeholders, or clients, patients, whomever, and just ask, what do you think would work? Let's not keep anything off the table, because right now we've really stalled with vaccinations, and we really, we certainly desire to be 80% plus. So,
Yeah, the cases are trending up. We have 30,000 students coming into this community. K-12 has not yet started. I know you do not have a crystal ball, but you have science. Given the lack of vaccine mandates and given where we stand in terms of vaccinations, is it a reasonable assumption that the case that this and the virulence of the Delta variant, is it a reasonable assumption that caseloads are going to continue to go up in this community right now?
Yes, it is reasonable. Do we believe that it's going to be anything like we saw last year? We hope not, because we know that many folks are vaccinated. And again, to put it into a perspective of severity, we know that younger persons suffer less severe outcomes. But we know that could also change with the science in the future. So obviously, we want to prevent anyone from getting ill at all. But is it concerning where we're at in this current kind of state we'll say the inability to kind of implement some of those tools, those layered mitigation? It certainly is. If we were able to require vaccines, I think that'd be wonderful in specific settings. If we were able to require masks, certainly. We look at what the CDC has published and noted: indoor public spaces, or higher risk outdoor spaces seem safer, and many states are not requiring masks in outdoor settings. So, again, we have the tools. We want to be able to implement them fully as much as possible. So,
go right ahead. One last question or comment I guess I have. I know that the public health did a great outreach within special populations, such as the Black community, when it came down to vaccines. But when it comes down to rapid testing, you kind of described that the transmission now is a little different than before. Not sure why, but if one person in the house has it, then it can, you're seeing that it can be other individuals in the home. It seems to me that rapid testing is the way to go for whether it's targeted neighborhoods or targeted communities, whether they have easy access, because I think it's great to have this mail-in option but instant gratification is something that a lot of people, I think, respond to. There are other cities outside of Iowa that I'm aware of, like you go same day and within the hour, you have your results. Is there any opportunity for having more rapid testing options here within our community?
That's a great question. At this point in time, I don't have a good answer, but that's something that we'll certainly continue to explore. And specifically, are you thinking or are you imagining it'd be like a drive-through testing site or kind of maybe scheduled sites that'd be available throughout neighborhoods?
I think right now, if we know that we're going to be in the heart you already described, going from 15 cases to 25 to 30 a day, seems to me that we're going to continue to see these numbers increase. And so maybe during a period of time where we have large amounts of numbers to really try to mitigate that and change it, seems that we would benefit from some type of a rapid testing site or option.
Well, let us get back to you on that, and we'll certainly reach out to our partners. I believe that our partners have already announced that they're looking at expanding their capacity, but I absolutely understand. So thank you.
Great. Thank you.
And thank you so much. And as any of these things come forward, if there's anything that you believe that we as a city and a council can do to help with outreach and to help with awareness, please let us know. And I would put out one thought to everyone right now, which is, for a lot of this pandemic, the kids protected the adults by staying home, by not going to normal schooling until the adults could get vaccinated. My question is, what are we going to do to protect the kids?
Yep. Great. Thank you so much, Sam, for being here today. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for the opportunity.
Great, thanks. All right, we are on to item number 10, I believe. Wait a minute. No, we went through 6, right? So we're on item number 7, which is community comment. And this is an opportunity for anyone from the public to come up and address any topic that is not on the formal agenda. And if you wish to, there's a sign-in book over there. We ask that you sign in and then keep your comments 3 minutes or less. We do have a monitor over there to keep your time. And you can start by giving your comments and then sign in after if you desire. Thank you. Welcome.
My name is Mary Gravett. I live at 2714 Wayne Avenue. Excuse me. I'm here about 2 things. The first thing I want to talk about is that at Wayne and Arthur, we need a no parking to the corner sign. If there's one car there, parked all the way up almost to the corner, you can look around, but you still have to come out in the street and see if a car is coming. And if there's 2 cars there, or a truck, you definitely can't see unless you come out into the middle of the street. Now, Wayne Avenue is narrow, like Iowa City streets are narrow, has 2-way traffic plus a bus, so that, it really does not suit that street, but that's where the street is and that's where most streets are. So we need a no parking to the corner sign so that people won't park at the corner because you can't see the traffic coming. And that's important for women with their baby coaches and everything. And the second thing I want to bring up are these bus schedules. These bus schedules are to me, they look useless. It takes an engineer to read them. You need to go back to the old paper schedules, because these are, at first they were worse than this when you decided to change over. But you need some different schedule signs. And finally, my final point is, I don't like the way, it's not even up to me, the way the town crest and the oak crest are divided. And this becomes really important in the wintertime because a lot of people in town crest, work at the hospital. So they have to get off town crest and get on the oak crest. And in the winter, that's awful. because it seems that it never snows in Iowa City because you don't know how to get it up. Because you bank not you, whoever's in charge of the streets, bank the snow up to the curb or the incline. And most time when you step on the bus with snow on your feet, and it makes the bus slippery inside. And it doesn't make sense for the Oak Crest and the Town Crest to be separated. So I guess pretty much that's all I want. The sign, paper schedules, and the Oak Crest and the Town Crest to be back as one line. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address anything that's not on the formal agenda? Welcome.
Hi, I have a question about agenda item 12 before I dive in. Is there a public comment on that for
Yes.
the TRC preliminary budget?
Yes.
Okay. And then I would like to mention, I would like to support the members of the TRC who are here tonight. The city needs to stop hamstringing them and allow them to do the work they need to do. The establishment of the commission was one of the goals from the protests last summer, and the city is setting up a situation where people are going to have to go out back in the streets. Last summer, the government declared that it would do whatever it takes to solve the issues of racial inequality in Iowa City. Mr. Mayor and councilors, tonight you have put your feet in your mouths yet again. There's a problem here, but it isn't with the TRC. It's with the city government. Mr. Mayor, frankly, I just don't understand why you're misconstruing the hurtful and damaging conduct of Roysanne Porter during her time on the commission. Furthermore, I am just alarmed by your suggestion that the TRC may be dissolved. In regards to paying commissioners, the argument that other commissions don't get paid isn't good enough to reject their budget. It's problematic for a city soaked in white supremacy and systemic racism to be asking a group of BIPOC folks to perform free labor. These folks have poured their heart and soul into the work, and other TRCs across the country and world are compensated. The TRC is completely different from other commissions in the city, and it is the norm for such TRCs to be compensated. One last thing about the TRC, several times the council has acknowledged that there's been hurt, but that's quite a way to describe the hurt that the council itself has put onto the TRC. In regards to the MRAP and the Bearcat, I think ICPD having access to a Bearcat is very dangerous. Despite the fact that armored vehicles are not needed in Johnson County law enforcement, Chief Liston has shown that he is chomping at the bit to use such vehicles, and my fear is that giving him access to one will continue the disproportionate usage of these vehicles in predominantly BIPOC neighborhoods. He has shown no acknowledgement that such disproportionate usage is a problem, and no indication that he will change this trend. Such vehicles are not needed in law enforcement, and frankly, I'm disgusted that Liston conflated the issues of gun violence with the issue of armored vehicles, especially since armored vehicles would make no difference in situations such as the Ped Mall shooting. Also, Councilor Mims, I was entirely disgusted with your comments at the last work session about the MRAP, that you would rather have children afraid of the MRAP than shot in their homes. Frankly, the MRAP isn't a bullet magnet. If the county gets a Bearcat, there needs to be a system of checks and balances in place to prevent ICPD from continuing the abuse they have historically undertaken with armored vehicles. From my perspective, if Dustin Liston gets his hands on a Bearcat, the problems of disproportionate usage are going to be amplified. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a mixture, but any TRC item related to budget, we'll have that at our later.
We didn't get name and address.
He didn't say his name.
Will you state your name and address, please?
Dan Cobble, and I live in Manville Heights.
Great. And did you sign or did you put a sticker over there? Thank you. Yep. Welcome.
Hello. My name is Noah, and I'm not going to dox myself by giving you my address. I don't know why y'all keep asking that, and that is insensitive to people who do not have an address in their community as well. Okay, in comments, first off, fund the excluded workers fund that y'all know. Y'all have the deets. Y'all know what you need to do. Do it. Stop wasting time like you have the last 18 months and fund those people. They don't have time for y'all to
Can
keep
you
waiting.
speak up, please? Because I can't hear you.
Sorry. I'm saying to fund the Excluded Workers Fund, like they've been, you all know what they're asking for the funding for, and do that. Stop waiting, dragging your heels, having your town hall meetings. When you had enough input, you know what to do. These people can't wait any longer. Do it. Secondly, on militarized vehicles, as some of you, including you, Mayor, last year admitted that there is no place for militarized vehicles in our streets used by law enforcement. So ban it. Stop ICBD. Even if the county does get Bearcat, MRAP, tank, whatever you want to call it, just don't let the ICPD use it. Stop that, since you can do that. Thank you. And a couple of other things. Well, actually, anyways. Stop harassing the houseless community. I sometimes work out helping delivering meals to stuff, and I have several times now been in situations where the police have been harassing and destroying their property, knocking their stuff over. I mean, yes, some of them were drinking in public, but what harm does that do to the community to harass and threaten people with fines and jail for drinking when they're in circumstances? If I was houseless, I mean, I would probably resort to that too. So, I mean, to stop. It doesn't help anybody to have the police harass them. Actually help people, give housing, provide support for people instead of harassing them with your cops. And lastly, I don't see him here today, thankfully, but you could keep it that way and fire Jeff and abolish his position and like manage the city yourselves. And also on the paying thing, the argument that just because you haven't paid last commissions is the reason you can't pay the TRC, then pay other committees. Like, that's a great idea. We should have more community involvement if people were actually able to have some money to do that, so you can get more people doing it instead of people who, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Would anyone else like to address any topic not on the formal agenda? Seeing no one, we are moving on to item number 8, planning and zoning matters. 8A, vacation and conveyance of alley right-of-way. Ordinance vacating approximately 6,098 square feet of public right-of-way running north from Lafayette Street, east of South Dubuque Street, and authorizing conveyance to Giblin Development Company. And Councilor Burgess is recusing herself from this item, and I'm going to open the public hearing. And we're going to start with comments from the staff and then hear from the applicant, followed by council questions. At that time, I'll open the item for public discussion and ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Danielle Sisman, Neighborhood and Development Services. As you stated, this is a request for a vacation and conveyance of an alley, shown here in the white dotted line. It's an approximately 20-foot wide alley that separates properties located at 700 and 730 South Dubuque Street from the apartment building at 220 Lafayette Street. The applicant, Gil Bain, is acquiring all of these lots and intends to redevelop them as one development spanning the alleyway. The purpose is to allow for, as I said, a redevelopment of a single building, 6-story building, multifamily apartments. This may sound familiar because it has been going through the land development process this year, including a rezoning to the Riverfront Crossings District. And the staff has recently completed the design review that's required for that. As far as the vacation and conveyance goes, there's several criteria that are examined as part of that, primarily to ensure that whatever the city is giving up in its rights to holding a right-of-way for this alley are no longer needed and would not adversely impact any surrounding properties. So in that vein, staff did evaluate what was in the alley, what the alley was used for, and we've crafted an agreement and a timing inherent to the conveyance to preserve those rights as needed by the public until such time as the redevelopment actually happens. So whatever utilities and access that are currently occurring in that alley will be preserved through this process up until the point that the conveyance and vacation are executed. As I mentioned, this project, the Gilbane project, has been going through the redevelopment process and the land development process as recently as February of 2021. They have also secured a special exception related to parking from the Board of Zoning Adjustment, which brings us to the green section here of the vacation. They've also been working simultaneously on their design review with staff, which are those last two steps. We anticipate a building permit to be filed shortly for the first phase of construction. So they are making good progress. So based on the review of the relevant criteria, staff recommended vacation of this alley contingent upon retention of access easements, private utility easements, and sanitary sewer easements for so long as the adjacent property is occupied up until redevelopment. While the alley currently serves as an important corridor for circulation and utilities for the existing development, it would not be needed for the future redevelopment. At their July 1st, 2021 meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission concurred with staff's recommendation and voted 7-0 to recommend approval of the vacation with staff's conditions. That concludes my remarks. I'm happy to answer questions.
Hearing none, thank you.
I will say the applicant is here, but I'm not sure that they have remarks prepared.
Okay. If no remarks, oh, okay. Welcome. And please state your name.
Hello, Mike Welch with Axiom Consultants. And I think Danielle kind of covered all the pertinent points, but if there were any questions from council, I'd be happy to answer those.
None. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would anyone from the public like to address this topic? If so, please come to the mic at this time. Seeing no one, I'm going to close the public hearing. Could I get a motion for first consideration, please?
So moved, Mims. Second, Weiner.
Council discussion? Roll call, please.
Sully,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Weiner,
Yes.
Mims.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
One abstain and
With
one
one
abstain.
abstaining, Laura Burgess. And we will bring her back. We are on to item number 8B. This is rezoning 1103 and 1125 North Dodge Street. Ordinance conditionally rezoning approximately 7.546 acres of land located at 1103 and 1125 North Dodge Street from community commercial with a planned development overlay to community commercial with a planned development overlay zone. And this is second consideration, and the applicant has requested expedited action.
I move the rule requiring that ordinances must be considered and voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is to be finally passed to be suspended, that the second consideration and vote be waived, and that the ordinance be voted on for final passage at this time.
Second.
Moved by Mims, seconded by Taylor. Would anyone from the public like to address this topic? If so, please approach the podium at this time. Seeing no one, council discussion. Roll call, please.
Taylor,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Weiner,
Yes.
Burgess,
Yes.
Mims,
Yes.
Sully.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Could I get a motion to pass and adopt?
So moved, Mims.
Second.
Moved by Mims, seconded by Salee. Roll call, please.
Teague,
Discussion?
Oh, sorry, discussion. We can do discussion. Yes.
Okay, I did have a couple of questions. One being, Danielle, I was looking at the staff report, and it talked about that it did note in its review of the OPD plan that there were a few areas outside the subject property where foot candles from the development exceeds the allowable limit of 0.5. The applicant stated that this is an existing non-compliant condition. Does that mean it's not being addressed as a part of this project?
I had a little trouble hearing the question, Councilmember Thomas. Are you asking about lighting levels off-site?
Yeah, there was reference to that there are a few areas outside the subject property where the foot candles from the development exceeds the allowable limit of 0.5 foot candles. and that the applicant stated that this is an existing non-compliant condition.
So if that is to be reviewed, it would be reviewed at the site plan stage, and we would apply the non-conforming regulations to that. It is possible they would not need to alter the lighting levels at this point. They have some leeway in continuing a legal non-conforming situation if that's what it is.
I see.
But it would be addressed at site plan review. We'd check those light levels again and review whether we have the authority to require them to alter their lighting beyond the scope of this project. Again, this is the project that's allowing for the permanent drive-through grocery pickup.
Right. Do you recall where these locations are, where the light levels are?
I do not. I mean, they're obviously on the periphery of the project, but I don't recall exactly which side of the site.
Okay. The second question I had was, I went up to the site today, and there are references in the staff report to the original CZA, and it noted that the buffer concept, which in this case was being applied to the north and the west sides of the property, as I recall, would be developed to what is referred to as an S3 standard. And, in looking at the existing conditions out there, I guess it's been maybe 5 years since the project was approved, or perhaps a little bit more. Portions of the west side along Prairie du Chien appeared to no longer meet the S3 screening standard. Is that something that we could address as a part of this approval?
Yes, the screening standards would be reviewed at site plan as well. So if there's vegetation that's no longer thriving or no longer in place, and if it's required, it would be required to be before this project would proceed as well.
Okay. One thing I would add to this is when Prairie du Chien was widened, it pretty much took up the entire right-of-way, so there really aren't any opportunities for street tree planting unless we were to utilize the Hy-Vee property on the east side of Prairie du Chien. There's a fairly large lawn area, and just recently, one of the trees on the west side of the street was removed. So it's kind of it calls out to me, at least, for some additional tree planting, partly because we can't locate any street trees along there. And the only one of the trees of the original planting in that large lawn area are still thriving. So perhaps that might be part of the staff site review, as well as what could be done there. It might, depending upon where these light levels occur, help mitigate the fact that they're higher than what we would like them to be in terms of how they affect adjacent properties. So those were my comments.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Teague,
Yes?
Thomas,
Yes.
Weiner,
Yes.
Burgess,
Yes.
Mims,
Yes.
Salee,
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Could I get a motion to accept correspondence?
Move.
Second?
Moved by Salee, seconded by Mims. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item number 9, sale of 322 Douglas Court. Resolution authorizing conveyance of a single-family home located at 322 Douglas Court. I'm going to open the public hearing, and we are going to start with staff, followed by council questions.
Hi, Tracy Heishu, Neighborhood Development Services. This is the 70th home in the university program, 322 Douglas. We renovated. We will sell to a homeowner. Renovations included total gut remodel of the house. We incorporated energy efficiency in the home, including a 96% efficient furnace, electric water heater, and then the Energy Star rated windows and exterior doors. We will sell the home for $134,000. Currently, then, this will be the last university home until we buy a new one. We are staff is focusing efforts on South District program right now, but this is the 70th home of the program.
Any questions for?
Do you find a buyer for this already, or you just?
Yes, we have a buyer. Yep.
Okay. Thank you. All right, thanks. And would anyone from the public like to address this topic? If so, please come forth. Seeing no one, I'm going to close the public hearing. Can I get a motion to approve, please?
Move.
Second.
Moved by Salee, seconded by Taylor. Council discussion.
Go ahead.
If you have a chance, if anyone has a chance to see the pictures of before and after, it is nothing short of an almost miraculous transformation. And it certainly shows me the value of this program, that you can start with something that's in such bad shape, end up with an excellent home that can be sold for a very reasonable price given home prices in this community.
I would agree.
Yeah, this university program has always been such an excellent program. 70 homes, that's amazing. And I am happy to hear we're going to focus on the South District now with those homes. But I was pleased to see the price on this one. It seemed to be getting a little closer to an affordable level for folks, because I think some of our original ones with the university program were a little on the higher end for some folks, but still a good starter home for people. And that's what I see this one as a very nice starter home for families or anybody to begin home ownership. And I'm happy to see this.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is going to be the last one, but I hope if we can really think about how we can continue this program. It was amazing. And I think we need also keep doing the South District, and also if we can continue doing this, will be great too.
Mm-hmm. I have to say, Tracy and your team, you've done excellent on this, and so very proud that this is an option in our community. The South District program, I think, is something that we're, as the council, have expressed great desire to continue. I know that there's also been conversation about what Mayor Pro Tem just mentioned, spreading affordable options throughout the community. And so certainly the university was an attempt to do that on a lot of level. This is, in my opinion, an affordable home for someone. And so happy that we have this option right now. Hearing no more comments, roll call, please.
Thomas?
Yes.
Weiner?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Mims?
Yes.
Salee?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes. Motion passes 7-0. Item number 10, Muscatine Avenue Pedestrian Crossing. Resolution approving project manual and estimate of cost for the construction of the Muscatine Avenue Pedestrian Crossing project, establishing amount of bid security to accompany each bid, directing city clerk to post notice to bidders, and fixing time and place for receipt of bids. I'm going to open the public hearing and welcome. We're going to start with staff, followed by council questions.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mari Van Dyke with the engineering department. So this project is located on Muscatine Avenue, south of the Hy-Vee parking lot, so about a block east of First Avenue. With the project, we'll be adding a new bus stop and bus shelter area on both sides of the street. We'll also be adding a mid-block crossing with a pedestrian island, and then we'll be connecting the Hy-Vee parking lot to the sidewalk. Let's see. So this area has a lot of pedestrian traffic from people walking to get groceries or riding the bus to get groceries. We've also been working with Iowa State University to use conductive concrete on this project. Basically, that's a type of heated pavement meant to melt snow in the winter. If you can see the darker gray areas, those are the areas that we want to use conductive concrete. So both bus shelters, both bus stops, and then the connecting sidewalk. So a little bit about how conductive concrete works. The concrete itself is essentially the same as normal concrete. It just has carbon fibers mixed in with everything else. And then during construction, they add stainless steel bars. They space them out about 2 feet apart through the center of the slab, and then they connect the bars to a power source with wires. That way, when the system is turned on, the bars will disperse electricity to the carbon fibers, and then the electricity is what heats up the pavement. So Iowa State has constructed test slabs at the Des Moines International Airport, which is shown here, and also at the Iowa DOT headquarters. So their research has shown that this is an effective way to melt snow and ice, which can prevent injuries. It also is a way to reduce the time and resources needed to remove snow, and it cuts back on the use of ice melt, which can harm the environment. With the Muscatine Avenue bus stops, we think that this would be a good fit for that location since there is so much pedestrian traffic there. The schedule for the project would be to open bids September 14th, award the contract September 21st, and then construction would be this October to next June. And the estimated construction cost is $88,000. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Seeing none, thank you. Would anyone from the public like to address this topic? If so, please come to the podium at this time. Welcome, and give your name and address again, please.
My name is Mary Gravitt, 2714 Wayne Avenue, Apartment 6, Iowa City. I say it's about time that you got to this crossing. I first proposed this in 2015. That is a dangerous street. First Avenue, Muscatine, right turns, left turns. And I mean, it's awful. It's a nightmare. And so we do need the bus shelters. There's so many disabled people, including myself. We need a place to sit to wait for the bus. The buses don't keep schedules. I know that. I ride the bus all the time. And another thing, there were supposed to be bus shelters placed around the city. I complained about that. Even down there by City Hall, it's no place to wait. And on the Town Crest line, there's no bus shelter. Go on the outbound Town Crest until you get down two blocks after my stop at Wayne and Arthur. Then that's the inbound. Then there's a bus shelter there. Now this has been like this for years, but we need bus shelters all over the city. I don't see why nobody else complains but me. Maybe because I notice things. So thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address this topic? Seeing no one, I'm going to close the public hearing. Can I get a motion to approve, please?
So moved. Weiner.
Second.
Moved by Weiner, seconded by Salih. Council discussion?
Well, this is a nice little project. It has a number of features, one of which is kind of new, this idea of this material that will electrically conduct a melting effect in the bus shelter. So we were talking about snow removal earlier. This will kind of help in a proactive way. We don't need to be concerned with the labor that would be involved with that. And then having a refuge where the bus stop is really an outstanding combination, really. I can just picture people running to try to catch the bus, and having that refuge there, I think, is really useful in that context. So, and then Muscatine is our arterials always have issues with speed, so having a refuge island, I think, will help calm the traffic, at least in that location.
I think it'll be interesting just to see how this plays out with the melting of snow.
Yeah.
At this location. I think it will definitely be something that we'll be able to consider in the future. And I would have to agree with Mary Gravitz in comments about the shelter. That is, and even the placement of everything here is very needed. I will make mention that the shelters, to my understanding, throughout the rest of the community, some of those were put on hold until after the study was done and the new bus routes were put in place. So I believe that we'll be seeing more bus shelters throughout the community, which will be very needed at especially some of these locations where there are more known persons with physical disabilities right in the buses. So, all right. Any other comments?
Yeah, I would just like to commend staff for finding this and coming up with the electrically conductive cement. It's not anything I'd ever heard of. I think it's great initiative, and if it turns out to work, then it's definitely something that we can look at using elsewhere in the community.
Like my driveway. No. All right. Anything else? Roll call, please.
Burgess?
Yes.
Sorry, I started in the wrong spot. Weiner?
Yes.
Mims?
Yes.
Salee?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item number 11 is Second Avenue Bridge over South Branch of Ralston Creek. This is a resolution approving project manual and estimate of cost for the construction of the Second Avenue Bridge over South Branch of Ralston Creek project, establishing amount of bid security to accompany each bid, directing city clerk to post notice to bidders, and fixing time and place for receipt of bids. I'm going to open the public hearing. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Clow with the Engineering Division. Get this started. So the Second Avenue Bridge Replacement Project is a reconstruction of a local 2-lane concrete beam bridge on Second Avenue adjacent to the Court Hill Trail and north of Muscatine Avenue. The project will also include improved stream bank stabilization and Ralston Creek reconstruction upstream to minimally straighten the stream out and help reduce some erosion that's occurring. We will be connecting water main on each side of the bridge. We currently have 2 dead-end hydrants on the north and south side of the bridge. So we'll be extending water main through the bridge deck itself. We'll also be extending the sidewalk on the east side of Second Avenue. There's an existing walk south of F Street. We'll be taking the sidewalk all the way up Second Avenue to make connection to the Court Hill Trail. On the west side of the bridge, we will also have a sidewalk. It will connect to Court Hill Trail, and it will also extend a little bit south in preparation for another future connection on that side of the street. Here's the bridge location plan. The width of the concrete is 26 feet. That overall pavement width matches the existing street roadway width that's currently on site. That will include 2 10-foot lanes and a 3-foot shoulder, which is required per the SUDAS acceptable standards. So we're adding the traffic control barrier between the pedestrian and the vehicular traffic. And that 3-foot is required from the outside of that vehicular travel lane. As I previously mentioned, we have 2 5-foot sidewalks on the east and west side of the bridge. And all along the roadway in this location, we have a 75-foot existing right-of-way. So that assisted us in extending that sidewalk. We have quite a bit of room on both sides of the road. Estimated cost of construction is $890,000. The current schedule is holding the public hearing tonight. This will be let through the Iowa DOT on September 21st, 2021. In conjunction with that, and going back up to the costs, we do have money in the Iowa Bridge program that will help with the costs on this. Plan to award the contract on October 5th, and then construction can begin as early as February 2022. Just a quick note on some of these photos, the current condition of the bridge is rated poor. I show some aerials. It's a pretty small local bridge, but in the southbound lane this year, we did discover a hole in the deck, so there's currently some steel plating placed over that, and we're looking forward to getting this reconstructed. During construction, we can maintain access to all the property owners. It will be a full closure on the roadway. We will provide a local pedestrian detour for the Court Hill Trail as much as possible. We'll also have a signed detour for when that trail needs to be closed. So with that, are there any questions?
Thank you, Melissa. I was just looking at the diagram, and I'm having a little bit of trouble seeing just because of the glare. So I just want to confirm, but what's in our packet, it looks like there's new sidewalk along the east side that's an additional maybe like block and a half that doesn't exist now? Okay.
Yes.
That's great. And it also looks like it's maybe being oriented to preserve some existing trees.
Yes, there's a little bump out kind of mid-block between F and the creek, and that's because of some existing trees in that location.
That's great. Thank you. And this is one of those areas of town that doesn't have sidewalks everywhere.
Right.
So really pleased to see that connection.
Yep. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address this topic? If so, please come forth. Seeing no one, I'm going to close the public hearing. Can I get a motion to approve, please?
So moved, Thomas.
Second, Burgess.
Council discussion? Roll call, please.
Burgess,
Yes.
Mims,
Yes.
Salee,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Weiner.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item number 12, TRC Preliminary Budget. And this is a resolution approving the preliminary operational budget for the Ad Hoc Truth and Reconciliation Commission that runs from July of 2021 through December of 2021. And I am going to, can I get a motion to approve?
Are we going to approve or move to defer?
Well, do we want to defer? So
Yes.
just get a motion to defer?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll
Do we
move to
want?
defer to the next meeting.
Second. Defer.
Okay.
For further discussion?
Do we want to also have public comment? Because I, okay, all right. Could I get a motion to defer?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mim, seconded by Salee, if I heard that correctly. All right, and then we'll go ahead with public discussion at this time.
Before you do, I'm sorry, Mayor, just to be clear, you're moving to defer to the next meeting at September 9th. Is that 7th? Sorry, is that correct?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
This is public discussion on this item itself, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Mohammed Traore, Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Just want to say thank you for deferring it, and also thank you for your time earlier today. Just want to say again that no ill will or anything of that nature, and that I do think that there is space to move forward, and that there is more that we can do to support one another. So I hope to see more of that as we continue on. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else like to address this topic from the public? Seeing no one, council discussion.
just hoping that with their meeting schedule, that hopefully we will, and with the RFP, hopefully we will have more information in our packet next time, so we can move forward.
Yes.
So that's my goal.
Yeah.
And I don't know when they meet next.
2 days.
I think they meet.
Thursday? Yeah, they
Thursday of
normally
this
meet
week.
the Thursday after our meeting.
I think that also I asked Stephanie Bowers about the RFP. She said she would convey it to Kelly so it could get into our packets, into our information packets.
Yeah, I am encouraged. I think I think there was certainly a sense that having that contract moving forward was an essential next step. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's in that proposal. But I'm really hopeful that having that will begin to answer some of the concerns in terms of how this thing is going to be managed and be able to achieve its the goals that have been stated in the resolution. And I think my hope was it will change the tone, the stress that the commission is under at the current time.
And I also really hoping to see what the goal of the commissions and commissioners, and also what the goal of the facilitator. As you said earlier, Councilor Thomas, you said that the commissioner is supposed to be approving the work, and I agree on that. Approving the work, listening, and bringing problems from the public and to the project manager or the staff or facilitator, I don't know what you're gonna call it, but they are the one who's supposed to do the work. So, and the commissioner should bring all the information that need to be changed or from the public, listen to the public and bring that to them so they can do the real work. Yeah, we need to have that clear before we move on this.
The roles need to be adjusted, and I'm really expecting that to happen.
I mean, I would anticipate that the members of the commission are still going to have work to do, not just approve things.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But at least it will be clear, one, they will have hopefully sufficient staff, if you want to call it staff, but support to do a lot of those things, people with that expertise. And so, yes, roles will be adjusted and in a way that hopefully is much more helpful to them in terms of time commitment and everything as well.
Yeah, that's really what I meant, yeah.
I'm very hopeful for the opportunity for a facilitator to come forth. I would agree that a lot of the commission work has been probably, whether in reality or in theory, has been overwhelming just because there's so much to think about and kind of put in some type of a context. So having a facilitator, I think, will help kind of guide. And again, I'm not sure if the word is facilitate. When I do think about in Eduardo, I've had opportunity to talk to him, I'll say face-to-face virtually. And I do know that he's a very skilled TRC, I'll call him a guru because he has extensive experience. What I would caution our TRC commissioners to do is really think about a few things. When I hear of 60 pages, I think about that seemed like a lot of what possibilities can be. This council has given our resolution, and so when you're thinking about, what can your facilitator do, I believe that you have to refer to the resolution. If there's something that's, even though there's some leeway in that resolution, but if it's something totally outside of it, I think that needs to be discussed with council. When I do think of someone not being local, at least for me, that is something to be discussed, I think, amongst the TRC commission, because that person, will they have in-person presence at your meetings? Will they be coming to town to do community things, or is that going to then be turned over to the commission or to another paid staff person? that is local. Local involvement is important, and so if, while the discussions are happening, just make sure that the discussion of how do we get local involvement on various levels. And again, I don't discredit. I think Eduardo is a phenomenal person. Just talking to him, on several occasions. But that's one thing that I would, just caution the TRC commissioners to talk about in their discussions, because that does have budget. It can have some things to do with their budget. So, yeah.
That's it.
No other comments? Roll call, please.
Since this is a motion to defer, I think
we can just do a voice
vote would be sufficient.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. It passes 7-0. It is deferred. Item number 13, solid waste fees. Ordinance amending Title III, entitled Finances, Taxation and Fees, Chapter 4, Schedule of Fest, Rates, Charges, Bonds, Fines, and Penalties, Section 5, Solid Waste Disposal. And this is second consideration, and staff is requesting expedited action.
I move that the rule requiring the ordinances must be considered and voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is to be finally passed be suspended, that the second consideration and vote be waived, that the ordinance be voted on for final passage at this time.
Second.
Moved by Mim, seconded by Salih. And anyone from the public like to address this topic? If so, please take the podium at this time. Seeing no one, council discussion. Roll call, please.
Mims?
Yes.
Salih?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Weiner?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Could I get a motion to pass and adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mim, seconded by Weiner. Roll call discussion. Roll call, please.
Salih?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Weiner?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Mims?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item number 14, Pedicabs lettering requirements. This is an ordinance amending Title V entitled Business and License Regulations, Chapter 2 entitled Taxicabs, to allow for flexibility and the requirements for pedicab lettering. This is second consideration, and staff has requested expedited action.
I move the rule requiring the ordinances must be considered and voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is to be finally passed be suspended, that the second consideration and vote be waived, and that the ordinance be voted on for final passage at this time.
Second.
Moved by Mims, seconded by
Taylor.
Taylor. All right. And would anyone from the public like to address this topic? Seeing no one, council discussion.
I actually saw one of these pedicabs last weekend when I was downtown for the Chalk the Walk, and I'd just seen this on our agenda, and I thought, oh, there it is. There's a pedicab. I felt like I wasn't even in Iowa City, because it's just not something we used to see around the Iowa City area, so it was kind of fun to see. It was actually pedaling through the downtown area. It didn't have any customers in it yet, but I realized then and could visualize what this was talking about. So it's kind of exciting to be able to have these here. Probably, depending on the weather, we probably won't see them in the wintertime, but it'll be fun in the spring, in the summer, fall. Be great.
Mm-hmm. I think in other communities you see them in the winter as well.
Okay.
Depends on the day. Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Taylor?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Weiner?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Mims?
Yes.
Salih?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Can I get a motion to pass and adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mim, seconded by Salih. Any discussion from council? Roll call, please.
Teague?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Weiner?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Mims?
Yes.
Salih?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item number 15, tobacco violation up in smoke. Resolution accepting payment of $300 civil penalty and waiver of right to hearing from Up in Smoke. Can I get a motion to approve?
Move.
Second.
Moved by Salih, seconded by Weiner. And any staff comments on this item?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Anyone from the public like to address this topic? If so, please take the podium. Council discussion. Roll call, please.
Thomas?
Yes.
Weiner?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Mims?
Yes.
Silly?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes. Motion approved 7-0. Item number 16. This is council appointments. Applicants must reside in Iowa City and be 18 years of age unless specific qualifications are stated. 16A is Housing and Community Development Commission. Housing and Community Development Commission, one vacancy to fill an unexpired term, effective appointment through June 30th, 2022. Council discussion.
I would recommend Mary Ann Dennis. I think Mary Ann has just incredible experience with her years at the Housing Fellowship and would make an excellent commissioner.
I was also going to recommend Mary Ann Dennison. I was worked with the Invest Health project with her, and she was just excellent resource on that. And of course, with her background, she's well suited for this. So I would agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree also.
Yes.
Like we have majority of council agreeing. Can I get a motion to appoint Mary Ann Dennis?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mim, seconded by Salee. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item number 17, announcement of vacancies new. Applicants must reside in Iowa City and be 18 years of age unless specific qualifications are stated. Climate Action Commission, one vacancy to fill an unexpired term upon appointment through December 31st, 2022. Applicants must be received by 5 p.m. Tuesday, September 28th, 2021. All right, could I get a motion to accept correspondence?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Salee, seconded by Weiner. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item number 18, announcements of vacancies previous. Applicants must reside in Iowa City and be 18 years of age unless specific qualifications are stated. Airport Zoning Board of Adjustment, one vacancy to fill a 5-year term. Board of Appeals licensed electrician, one vacancy to fill a 5-year term. Historic Preservation Commission, East College Street, one vacancy to fill a 3-year term. Historic Preservation Commission, Jefferson Street, one vacancy to fill an unexpired term. Vacancies will remain open until filled. Item number 19, we are at USG. Welcome.
Hi, Council. So Welcome Week is happening this week as students come back to campus. So there's going to be a vaccination campaign just pretty much all week, 8 to 4 at the IMU. Students can walk in and get vaccinated for free. So that's really awesome. And Ellie and I will be tabling during Welcome Week at Jessup Hall for the Office of Sustainability Open House. And we're going to be with our community partner, Bob Opplinger from the Bicyclists of Iowa City. And we're going to give out bike information on like rules of the road, as well as stipends for students to take to local bike shops and get helmets and bike locks and things like that. And then in terms of the university vaccination policy will remain the same despite major pushback from a lot of employees and faculty. So this may lead to changes to class in the fall later on in the future. And then the other week, the university released their Reimagining Campus Safety Committee results, which underline the importance of providing alternative non-law enforcement responses options for mental health and other safety services. So that's on their website as well, or if you guys want me to send that to you, just shoot me an email and I can send that. But that's all from us. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Great. All right. We're at item number 20, City Council information. So any updates?
Don't have any updates, but I have a public comment. I know Janice usually comments on this too and probably will again. And we did talk about quite a bit when Sam Jarvis was here, but I just wanted to say that in my lifetime, I've seen the scare of tuberculosis and even polio. I'm that old. But I've never would have dreamt that I would see something such as this pandemic that we're going through that just doesn't seem to want to go away. It's caused and is still causing anguish and havoc and just disruption of people's lives. So I just would like to make a plea that if you haven't already done so, please get vaccinated, please, please, and thank you to the university for offering that at the IMU, because that's going to be very helpful, get that age range vaccinated, so thank you for that. Please, it was great to see everybody continue to wear masks here, and please continue to do that, maintaining safe distance from persons other than your close family members. And please stay home if you're feeling ill. That was another thing that Mr. Jarvis mentioned, was the children going into the daycares even though they're ill. Please don't do that. Please keep them home if you can, and keep yourself home too if you're ill. That's all.
So I appreciate that, Pauline. Really just urge people to please mask up indoors. The Delta variant is virulent. The Delta variant is extremely contagious. There have been breakthrough infections. Please mask up indoors. Please get vaccinated. But I do actually have an update. The ECOG Visioning Committee had its second meeting this past week for visioning for the region. We discussed and listed a really good number of regional drivers, and there will be a workshop for the region on September 28th. I'll have more to say on that later. But it's they're working with contractors, working very hard together with the effort that's already happening in Johnson County.
I wanted to once again acknowledge the dedication of McPherson Park. Councilor Taylor was able to attend, and it was a great event and well attended. And I thought that there was a lot of excitement for the person, Mr. McPherson, and it was a great dedication. And thanks to Councilor Taylor for being the first on our council to kind of mention this park. So yeah, it was a great time of celebration there. I wanted to also mention that I was a part of the University of Iowa Alcohol Harm and Reduction Partnership for Alcohol. And that happened on the same day, the 5th of August. There is lots of partnerships happening between the city of Iowa City and the University of Iowa, and I think safety is really at the forefront. How can we be a little proactive and keep students safe? There's a lot of things that will be going now that COVID, well, is back on the surge, but there will be more students, some type of messaging that is going to go out to, and I think USG is a little bit involved in making sure that students really know how they can reduce some alcohol harm and reduction. Next month in September, PAWS, that's the Partnership of Alcohol Safety, which is, I learned is different than the one that alcohol harm reduction and partnership. So PAWS is going to be taking place in September, and so that is something that I chair along with university, I'm blanking on the name right now, but that'll be coming up, and I think if there's any concerns from the council, any thoughts that you have for that meeting, certainly you can reach out, and then we'll be able to move forward with some ideas of sharing and trying to collaborate. But our police department or representatives from the police department will be present because they are planning to be present and returning in the downtown area. And so I think this upcoming semester, there was more of a sense of really trying to be a little more proactive and ensuring people know alternative ways of getting home and what help is out there. We do have now the Guide Link Center, and so that'll be something that may be tested out, I think, on a larger scale now that that is in place. Any other comments? Hearing none. All right. Any updates from our staff on to item number 21?
I'll offer one. Here to announce, in addition to our staff, Jennifer Schwickerath is a new assistant city attorney who joined us yesterday. She comes to us from she was the Chickasaw County attorney until last Friday. We are excited and pleased to have her on board and on staff. I should mention that in calling her references, the first one indicated that he was dreading this call. He really would have loved to see her stay in that community in New Hampton, but knew that she and her family wanted to live and work in Iowa City. The other reference had really tried to hire her herself and had been unable to do so because she really wanted to live and work in Iowa City. And I really embraced that because it was about 16 years ago next month that my family, I took this position or in this office because we wanted to live in Iowa City. And so it was a nice testament to the community in which we live.
Well, welcome to Jennifer, and that was our city attorney, Eric Gores. We'll go on to our city clerk. Any updates?
I have nothing.
All right, thank you, Kelly.
Mayor, if I could, I'm
Please.
sorry, I just got back from vacation and my sense of timing is off here a little bit. I just had to go back and just double check when our last meeting was. I would be totally remiss if I did not mention the passing of Connie Champion earlier this month. I had the absolute pleasure to serve on city council with Connie for a number of years, I think 6. And Connie was just a real icon in this community. She was a giving person. She was a philanthropist. She was a businesswoman. She was direct. Connie did not mince words. You knew where Connie stood. Connie had a sense of humor. She was just a wonderful, wonderful, caring individual, and just gave to this community in so many ways. So if for some reason people hadn't heard about it, I just wanted to make sure that people did, and just to, from the city, send our condolences and regards to her family. She will be greatly missed.
Great. Thank you for making that acknowledgement. Any other items? We're at item number 22, adjournment. Can I get a motion, please?
Move.
Second.
Moved by Solis, seconded by Burgess. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.